Hello, hello. Thanks for tuning in to this new series of the BBXX podcast. We wanted to bring you more content, specifically more BBXX original content, and we're using this as a chance to experiment with different topics, different formats, short format, longer format, casual interviews, more formal interviews, and a bit more fun stuff. So this new series will bring you mainly content from what I am referring to as the Food for Thought series, which explores different terms and terminology or questions that might be particularly relevant to now. It might elaborate on something specific from one of our main interviews, or it might just dive deeper into a question that people have been asking me or that I've been wondering about myself. But we'll also include things from fun ratings and reviews for books, movies, other podcasts, etc., to live interviews and informal interviews with more people, perhaps such as yourself, talking more about personal narrative and personal experiences that have shaped ourselves, our lives, and our relationships. Because as much as there is to be learned from us, from BBXX or any expert, we have just as much that can be learned from all of you and from each other. Today, I want to introduce you to another challenging perspective challenge to help reground yourself in what really is or isn't worth stressing over, and reminding yourself, ourselves, that sometimes we like to make up stories and we like to put blame on other people or in places where it isn't necessarily deserved. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in the stories that we like to tell ourselves because it's easier than looking at things differently, and because either way, relationships are a lot of effort. So regardless of what story you choose and what perspective you use or whatever communication technique you try, there really is no easy way. But there are tools and perspectives that can help us recenter, reground, and recalibrate so that certain small things don't get built up to be something bigger than they deserve to be, or so that our relationships aren't building up resentment over things that in the big picture or through these perspective shifts, we can come to realize perhaps don't matter as much as we have thought or as much as we have told ourselves that they do. So today's perspective challenge is this. And whether or not you have a partner, maybe think about this hypothetically, but particularly if you have a partner, my challenge to you is to try on the belief that your partner would be fine without you. Let me explain this. I'm going to use a few examples, and if you haven't listened to the last Food for Thought episode about not blaming, but sharing the responsibility, this one is a bit of the same in terms of a really uncomfortable challenge, but sort of, in my opinion, an incredibly refreshing, useful tool that has regrounded me in so many different moments. Oftentimes, there are even times when your partner or you might say, "Oh, I could never survive without you," or "What would I do without you?" or "Oh, they'd be lost without me. They could never survive without me. Where would they be without me?" And yes, in this reality, that might be true. But in a parallel reality, that's not necessarily true. And in fact, it's probably not true at all. I don't usually get personal, but I have so many stories and examples and just more and more. But please let me know if you like the personal examples because I have a gajillion and would be happy to share more of them if I know that they'll be useful. Today, the example that I'm going to use is a classic example of home life, right? So, at home, oftentimes tasks are divided, sometimes equally, sometimes extremely disproportionately, but whatever the case is. For example, in our home, he tends to do most of the cleaning, washing clothes, doing the laundry, those sort of kind of around the house laborious tasks. Versus I buy all of our groceries, I plan our meals, I do a lot of logistics and planning. Anything that's kind of outside of the moment and needs to be thought of in advance is my realm. That is where things tend to land. So, of course, I could at times find myself wondering, wow, would he even remember to eat if I wasn't here? What would he be eating? There would be one carrot and an old piece of cheese and, what else in the fridge? There would be no food. He just wouldn't eat or he wouldn't be eating healthy or what, right? That's a story that I could tell myself. And my challenge here is to disprove that through this thought exercise. What if not only could he survive somehow miraculously as he did for the 30-something years before we met, but what if he could actually be better off on his own? What if he ate out more with friends and was happier? What if he ate less and wouldn't tell me that I'm making him fat by cooking delicious food? What if he was somehow healthier or hit a breaking point where he realized he needed to get his own act together? What if he subscribed to some amazing, delicious, healthy meal delivery service? All of these things could potentially be true. There is not only a world, but multiple parallel universes where this person, where he could be better off without me, where your partner could be better off without you. In fact, maybe they'd be with somebody else who cooked even better, who bought even better groceries, who had even more money and had a private chef. Whatever that story might be, I hope that this brainstorming exercise can be as helpful for you as it is for me, because it doesn't serve us to get wrapped up in this story, telling ourselves that they'd be lost without us, that they would be a wreck without us. And yes, in some of these other parallel universes, they might be. But there's also the possibility that they could potentially and would potentially, in some other parallel universe, be better off without us. So now let's take the other example, right? It could be easy for him to say, oh, you don't clean. And full disclaimer here, I do contribute. I am a very good dishwasher. I actually really like washing dishes. I find it to be a mindfulness exercise. So this is not like I don't do any share of this. But he could easily think, oh, you don't ever mop the floors, you don't vacuum very often. I'm always the one washing our clothes. I'm always the one doing our laundry. And those things are true. So then he could easily walk down the path and choose to think, where would she be without me? She would be a slob living at home with clothes piling up, with dust on the floor, without having this beautiful home that's an amazing place to invite people over to. And here are some of the perspective challenges. I do know how to clean. I clearly know how to do my laundry. I am a capable, grown, intelligent adult who, even if it were some complex thing, I'd be capable of figuring it out. How many things these days can you not YouTube or look up, right? In fact, I did my own laundry for many, many years. I do know how to clean. I have cleaned my own homes, had clean homes in the past. In another parallel universe, I do clean my own house and do my own laundry. Look at that. Wow. But the fact that I know he's going to wash my clothes and I know that he practically enjoys cleaning the floors while I do not get 1 ounce of joy out of cleaning the floors makes me think, well, why would I do that? If I know it's going to get done, if he does it more frequently anyways, I could tell him, hey, please don't wash my clothes when you wash yours. I want to wash mine. But why would I do that? Especially when I understand this to be part of our overall shared and not calculated, but shared contributions to our home life together. Now, there's also a parallel universe where maybe I don't even clean my own home. Maybe I don't know how to clean. Maybe I don't enjoy cleaning. But there is another parallel universe where I have a cleaning lady who comes once a week or once every other week. Or there's some world where even if me or some person in your vision, in your situation, or in this story that you're telling yourself, they're such a slob that, guess what? In some other parallel universe, maybe they have a cleaning lady who comes twice a week. Or maybe they're in a relationship with somebody who likes cleaning even more. So in this case, again, there are versions of these parallel universes where maybe that person isn't as well off without you. And I want to encourage you to go through the thought exercise of imagining and challenging yourself to think of and name, to think of and imagine or admit that there are parallel universes where this person could potentially be better off without you. And it might be really uncomfortable, or you might insist that it's impossible. And maybe in some cases, it's completely impossible. But in most cases, no matter how uncomfortable this might be, or no matter how hard this might be to admit, there exists the possibility that they could be better off without you. When I remind myself of that, it makes me appreciate them. It makes me appreciate the other person so much more. And it is sobering. It is grounding. It is what I need to come back to remember that these things oftentimes aren't worth stressing about. That in the big picture, they shouldn't matter. They shouldn't be the things that make or break it. And that regardless of the stories that we like to tell ourselves, they really might not be serving us. So that's my food for thought for the day. I really hope that this is as helpful for you as it is for me. I really hope that you find this tool helpful. I know that I have come back to this a lot. I've shared this with a lot of friends who have told me how helpful it was for them. So I invite you, I challenge you to try it on for yourself, and I would love to hear how it goes. So thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Food for Thought. If you don't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can be notified when we come out with new episodes, and to just take one moment of your time to show your support by subscribing, scrolling down to the bottom of the podcast where you can leave a rating and write a review, and perhaps even to share this with one or a few friends who you think could benefit from it. Because who can't benefit from better understanding themselves so that they can connect deeper with other people as a result?